today I'm going to be talking about what I'm doing in Upland right now between this slightly slow period between city releases. I'm going to take a look at the progress at our Holliswood community node, and there's a big building going up in Manhattan right now that I want to talk about. Lots of things to cover today. How's it going, everybody? This is Radishhead, and welcome back to another episode of Upland Analysis. I first of all want to give a shout out to my executive level channel members, Bad Frog, Matrigno and Monopoly Mike. Thank you very much for your support of the channel. And I also want to announce that this episode is sponsored by the Gilded Gamers Hollywood Hills node and racetrack. The first node that is also a racetrack. They want to develop an aspirational community around this proposed racetrack. Right in sight of the famous Hollywood sign in the Hollywood Hills. They want this racetrack node to be surrounded by amazingly decorated residential properties and some awesome commercial stuff, probably a lot of commercial stuff that's going to be connected to cars and racing, and they want to attract businesses to the area by hosting race days, and that will obviously increase the footfall to those businesses. This is a really good opportunity to grab your houses around this racetrack because these guys have an awesome plan. If you like the idea of what they're doing, I've got a link in the description for the Gilded Gamers Hollywood Hills node and racetrack. What better place for a racetrack than just sitting below that Hollywood Hills sign? That is awesome. There's still properties to mint around here. Give it a look. Thank you, Gilded Gamers and the Hollywood Hills node and racetrack, for sponsoring this video. Alright then, how about we check on the Holliswood node, because there has been a lot of interest among this community and that, which I'm absolutely thrilled by. Thank you so much for making this a reality, and I'll be honest, I'm not surprised there's been a lot of interest in it, because for those of you who missed my announcement in the previous video, I am paying you, Upex, to build in Holliswood, which is a crazy proposition, to be honest, because Spark prices are so cheap right now. I'm not renting out my Spark at the moment. I'm using it to build in Holliswood. I've got my house here. I'm using all 5 of my Spark to do that. And it looks like a lot of other people are feeling the same way. They're not leasing out their Spark to other people. They're just using it while it's cheap to build up in node areas, and Holliswood is a fantastic node to be building in. Some people are going one step beyond. They are renting Spark from places like House of Spark while the prices are still super cheap by combining the cheap rate at which you can rent Spark right now, any potential discounts from places like House of Spark, and on top of that, I am literally going to send you Upex if you construct a building in Holliswood. It's 4,000 Upex if you construct a small townhouse, 16,000 Upex if you construct a large townhouse, and 30,000 Upex for a apartment building. That's crazy. And I'm looking around at Holliswood at the moment, and on one hand I'm absolutely thrilled by the amount of building that's going on here. I think we're actually number 7 in terms of neighborhoods with the most Spark currently contributed, and it also makes me a little nervous because I'm looking at all of these properties and I'm thinking, whew, I'm gonna be spending a lot of Upex to subsidize these, but that's all good and fun. I've got a plan for it, so don't worry about me. I'm going to be putting my full weight behind Holliswood. It's still not too late to get in. I believe the floor, if I quickly search, 56,000. That doesn't seem very high. I might grab that one. And there I have it. So even though the floor is 64,000 Upex, I want you to put that into perspective of other similar nodes of a similar prestige, similar size, similar amount of building going on. 60,000, 70,000, that is so cheap compared to where we're going. I really believe it. Look at all the building going on here. The community response in Holliswood has been incredible. Spark is cheap right now. Let's build this place to the moon and collect some nice Upex rewards from me while you're doing it. So aside from hyping up Holliswood and getting really excited about the whole thing. What am I doing right now? Because we're kind of sitting between city releases. We haven't had any major updates from Upland too recently. So what am I doing? Well, I'm still mostly focused on Queens because, as I said in a previous video, this is the last chance that we'll have ever to get in New York City. This is the only New York City that exists, and Queens is the final piece of that puzzle in terms of the boroughs. There are still lots of affordable properties unminted in Queens right now. Let's do a quick check on upexlands.me. Let's say non-FSA, but if you are an FSA player, there's some even better deals out there. And let's go by mint price ascending. What can people mint in Queens right now for? 6,300, and there's plenty of them. So quite honestly, I'm doing two things right now. Firstly, I'm minting, because unless you are buying stuff second hand from other players cheaper than mint price, which I have been doing as well, minting is the best value proposition. You're getting that full 14.5% yield when you mint your properties, whereas if you buy them second hand, you're making a bit of sacrifice in terms of the yield percentage. So 6,300 for New York, that's pretty incredible. Let's compare it to Bronx, which I think is a fairly fair comparison. There is nothing left to be minted in Bronx, so let's say for sale Upex by sale price, you're not going to be paying less than 13,000, and that ramps up pretty quickly to 13,500, 14, 15. That's only a few dozen properties between 13 and 15. So probably fair to say that as time goes on, we're going to see Bronx, Brooklyn, they're all going to be pushing 13, 14, 15,000. But you can mint properties now in Queens for about 6,000 Upex. And I feel like I'm going mad again, because this is exactly what I was saying back when Chicago was unminted. I was saying Chicago is a tier 1 city. Look, you can still mint stuff there for 5,000 Upex. Why aren't people doing it? Obviously, Chicago's completely minted out now. The floor price is considerably higher than the mint floor price was back then. And I think the same thing's going to happen in Queens. I think in a few months, Queens is going to be fully minted, or pretty much. You know, all of the affordable stuff is going to be fully minted. And over time, I think all of these boroughs that are not Manhattan are going to slowly kind of align in terms of their prices. There'll be some small differentiation just in terms of their size or their base mint price. But certainly I think Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens are all going to mostly align. So I think you can get a pretty safe 100% return in Queens if you're minting now and you're happy to wait a few months. Obviously nothing in Upland is guaranteed, and I don't provide financial advice, but that's what I'm doing. And not only am I minting in Queens, there might be some even better options for people who are buying. Look at this, for sale Upex in Queens, sort by sale price. So I like to do this just to get the sale price floor. But as I've mentioned in a previous video, I like to do a kind of hybrid between sale price and markup. So this is the absolute cheapest you could buy right now. 5,200. That's ridiculous when the mint price floor, you can't mint anything in Queens for less than 6,200. So why on earth are people selling stuff for 5,000? That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, of course, that is a 144% markup. This guy has, well, I was going to say he's made a profit. I mean, he hasn't, because this poor guy bought this property for 12,000 and is selling it for 5,000. Might have been a new player not knowing what they were doing. No worries. But 144%, what if I don't want to pay that much of a markup? I care a bit more about my yields. Well, we've searched for the 200 cheapest properties in Queens. Now I'm going to sort it by markup. Here we go. So within the cheapest properties in Queens, this is incredible. There is properties here selling for under mint price that are less than 6,000. So not only are they selling this thing cheaper than what they minted it at, the mint floor in Queens has risen above this point. So I'm just going to grab these right now. And this is exactly what I've been doing in Queens, is just looking for crazy deals like this. There it is, 6645 Hull Avenue. So obviously you have to pay the 5% Upland tax on it. So it actually works out closer to 6,100, but that is still below the mint floor in Queens. So you're getting a great deal here, and it means I don't have to travel to the property to do it. So for those people asking, Radish, what are you doing between city releases? Firstly, I'm kind of trying to flip my properties, accumulate a bit of Upex, because we all know that a city is coming around the corner. It might be a big one, it might be a smaller one, who knows? But you never want to be completely out of Upex. And I feel like the prices are slowly starting to go up around the Upland metaverse. So this is a good time to look at your holdings in other cities and think, would I rather have the liquid Upex in order to mint in a new city? Before, I think people were selling at crazy cheap prices. We're still in a little bit of a bear market, but it doesn't quite feel as aggressively cheap as it used to be. So I think this could be a good opportunity. If you're really running low on liquid Upex for the next city, yeah, maybe sell one or two. It could be a good opportunity to do so. And finally, I say as I'm zooming in on Manhattan, I think a lot of people know exactly what I'm going to be talking about, but I thought it did deserve a little bit of recognition because Upland haven't actually announced this yet, which I think is very interesting. One of the landmark properties that sold for a lot of money, you know, back in the day, before my time, I think, Trump Tower is being built in Upland, and oh my god, it is huge! It is by far the tallest property in Upland right now. If I kind of shift my camera, it's almost a bit unfortunate for these people who own the nearby tower blocks, because Trump Tower is absolutely dwarfing it. It is confirmed that Upland can at least support skyscrapers of this height in Upland. I think it's really interesting that Upland haven't announced officially that Trump Tower is being built. First of all, if you have 0.1 spark to spare, I'd highly recommend seeing if you can fit your 0.1 spark on this structure, because historically Upland have done kind of raffle style rewards for people who contribute their spark to big landmarks like this. So if you can get on before the announcement, there might be a little bit of room for you and you might be able to get some rewards down the line. And I'm wondering if they're saving the announcement of Trump Tower to coincide with the new building structure types in Manhattan, because one of them is like a skyscraper kind of building. It's nowhere near as tall as Trump Tower, but I think those two announcements could come kind of together, which will be really fun. I want to see skyscrapers in Manhattan. I've got properties around here that could fit something really tall, and I want to see it. So I want to see the Manhattan skyline in Upland look just like it is in real life. Upland, I hope you're listening to me. Please don't let Trump Tower be the only tall building in Manhattan for the foreseeable future. So yeah, that's what I'm doing in Upland. That's how the Holliswood node is going, and that is the big building going on right now. Before I end this video, I want to give a shout out to my executive and director level channel members, Matrigno, Monopoly Mike, Bad Frog, and Tushar Singh. Thank you so much for your support, and of course all of the pro level members are up on the screen here as well. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.